you guys can hear me clearly. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Let me just adjust this mic. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Hannah. If you are new here, thank you for watching. I am a self-improvement coach, trauma coach, and content creator. This is going to be an unedited video, basically like all the rest of the videos from this point. And we're going to be talking about something that I think is very powerful. We're going to be talking about how Shaytan gets us. So think about it this way. If you know the opposite team's playbook, then you can anticipate the types of things that they're going to do, and then you can counter them with your own actions, and then you can win the game. And the thing about Shaytan is, as conniving and as much of a trickster as he is, we know his plays. They're in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. And Shaytan also will personalize his plays towards us based on us and our personality and our struggles. So this video, we're going to talk about some of his most common plays, most common tricks he plays on us, and then how do we counter them? What should we do about them? If you see me looking down, I'm just looking down at my notes. So, all right. This is the truth about how Shaytan gets you. So first and foremost, what is one of the oldest tricks in the book that Shaytan uses? It is the one that every human being struggles with. No matter how old you are, no matter what point of life you're in, you are going to experience this. It is the typical getting us to believe, I can't. So Shaytan loves when we are self-deprecating. He loves when we don't believe in ourselves. He loves when we cut ourselves short. Because if he can get us to believe that we can't do something, we can't be, I can't be a better mother, I can't be a better son, I can't be a better Muslim, I can't be a better student, whatever it is, then he's done the most efficient part of his job, meaning he's going to stop us from even trying anything. If we don't believe that we can do something, we're not going to even attempt it. So then all that good that would have come from it, the Shaytan has blocked us from it. So how do you counter this? Well, first and foremost, it starts with awareness, right? You need to catch yourself when you're having those self-deprecating thoughts, when you have self-hating thoughts. This is something a lot of people struggle with. Our brains can be our worst enemies because it doesn't always operate from a place of truth. Our brain can sometimes just operate from a place of protectiveness and doing the things that it thinks is going to keep us safe, even if the payoff of whatever that we were hoping we were going to do is going to be great, because the brain is always going to prioritize comfort. That's why we have to actively counter it. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us to do things and tells us to do things that actively counter comfort. So bring the awareness to when your brain is trying to trick you and keep you comfortable and make you stop doing things and make you hate yourself. Be aware of that. Number two, when you start noticing these things, first, a'udhu min ash-shaytan. Say a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim. Seek refuge from the shaytan, because that largely is Shaytan playing with you, right? That's one. Two is you counter this automatic negative thought and automatic negative thinking you have with something positive. So what does that look like? If I'm feeling like, I'll give you an example. Today, I wasn't feeling the best. I wasn't really feeling like I wanted to post a video. And the automatic negative thought that came to me was, nobody really cares what I have to say. Why am I posting a video and people aren't going to value what I'm sharing? And what a good way for Shaytan to get me out of doing this, right? Because the reality of it is, this video is meant to help you be more aware of his tricks. And if he can get me to just stop posting about it, then people aren't going to be aware, and he's going to be able to continue to deceive you guys. So I had to fight that. I had to be aware of it. One, I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily me speaking, right? This is the part of my brain that's just trying to keep me comfortable speaking. So that's one. And then two, I got up and I did it anyways. So here I am making this video, posting this video to share with you guys. So that's one. Two, so bring awareness to it, do something to counter the action. And even if, and this is all a part of the God's conscious self-improvement plan that I teach on my channel, is that you have to learn how to stack up little wins. So even when you're feeling discouraged, keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, because all those little wins that you end up piling up is going to give you a level of encouragement and a level of confidence to the point that it's going to be a part of your identity. So now, if I continue to make these videos, right, just as an example, then my brain's gonna be like, well, Hannah's a YouTuber, so she's gonna be able to make these videos with ease. And the next time I get up to make one, it's gonna be a lot easier. So that's point one of how Shaytan gets us. By the way, guys, I'll throw this in here and I'll remind you guys at the end, and as well as I have a really awesome ebook on God conscious self-improvement. It kind of goes through some stuff, mindset shifts, a lot of really good stuff. I have it linked in the description of all of my videos from this point on, inshallah. If you sign up for the newsletter, you get that ebook completely free, and then you'll get another ebook on healing trauma. Highly suggest and recommend you do it, because alhamdulillah, this channel and my social media channels and my company is growing very quickly, and the people who are a part of the newsletter are going to be the people who get the exclusive offers first, who get the newest content first. It's all going to be you guys. So yeah. Okay, next. What is Shaytan's second trick? What does he do? What does he love to do? Shaytan loves to separate us from our community. So here is a fun fact about Islam. Islam is an extremely individual religion, but it is also an extremely communal religion. And when I say that, what I mean is there are certain deeds and things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to perform individually. We are accountable of them on our own. So, for example, salah. Every single person needs to pray their 5 salah, right? Except for certain times when you're exempt from it. A woman, for example, who is menstruating, or, you know, in the postpartum bleeding era, sometimes you can combine your salah if you're traveling, things of that sort. But every single person has to pray salah. But then there's a communal aspect of it. You can pray salah in jama'ah. If you are a person going to jama'ah, in the case of men who are mandated, you pray in jama'ah as well. If Shaytan can separate you from the community of good-willed Muslims, then you are much more easily influenced, right? The wolf is going to attack the lone sheep. It is the easiest target for that wolf, and the Shaytan is a wolf. And when we separate ourselves from our community, then we become that lone sheep. So how do you counter this? So first and foremost, there's kind of two ways I feel like people get to this place. Number one is when you feel like just really down and horrible and you isolate. I don't know if you guys experience that, but I used to deal with this when I was dealing with severe depression. I used to be such an isolator, and I recognized that it wasn't good for me. But Shaytan also is going to promote that isolation, because then he can get you back to step one. He can get you to really dive deep into those self-deprecating thoughts and negative thoughts and affect your behavior that way. So that's one. Two is when Shaytan gets you to move away from good people and towards bad people. So when I say that Shaytan is separating you from your community, I mean the community of believers who you would have had the highest likelihood of entering into Jannah. Because group pressure is so powerful. And if you can have a group that is pressuring you to do good things, pressuring you to perfect your character, to pray on time, to give charity, right? Those kinds of things, that kind of group aspect, you'll be more likely to do those good deeds even when you're not motivated to, because you have a group of people who are doing it around you. I don't know if you've ever had this experience. Have you ever been praying in like a jama'ah setting, in a group setting, and then 2 people, you know, get up to start praying sunnah, and you don't usually pray sunnah, but you're like, oh, I might as well this time, right? So you added on an extra good deed just because of the influence of the group. Well, now think about on the other side. What happens when you separate from that group, but you start being with people who are extremely negative, who don't pray, who, you know, curse very often, who do things that are pulling you away from God? Those are the types of people Shaytan wants you to think is your community. And the Quran talks about this in terms of just really being mindful of who you pick, who you pick as friends. And then there's a hadith that the wording of it escapes me exactly right now, where the Prophet ﷺ likens a good friend to a perfume shop, right? And if you were to walk into a perfume shop, you leave the perfume shop smelling good, even if you didn't buy anything. But then he likens a bad friend to a blacksmith shop, right? So if you walk into a blacksmith shop at that time, even if you don't buy anything, you're gonna walk out smelling like ash and fire and having soot all over you. So that is trick number 2 that the Shaytan uses. Trick number 3, oldest trick in the book, but Shaytan gets us by minimizing our sin. So he makes us think that the thing we did was small, that the sin we committed, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And why is that a problem? The problem there is if you don't believe it's a big deal, you're less likely to make tawbah, you're less likely to repent and ask for forgiveness for that sin. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us to keep an eye out for those small sins because they will continue to pile up until they're as big as a mountain, basically. So you're just going to get more and more because you're dismissing it. That's one. 2 is that even the smallest of sins, if not repented for and not corrected, is going to leave a mark on our heart. And enough of those marks at a certain point is going to cause an effect on the spiritual heart. And then that's going to be a lot harder to come from. These are it's the death by 1,000 cuts idea, right? So how do you counter this? You counter this by 1, even if you don't feel like the sin that you committed is a big deal, right? If you know it is a sin, you still need to make tawbah for it. You still need to ask Allah for forgiveness for it. 2 is make it a point to make a general tawbah at night. Every single night you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. I do this, I try to make this a habit every single night where I'll say astaghfirullah a certain number of times. And we know that istighfar obviously erases sins, but it also increases risks. That's one of the blessings of istighfar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in the Quran. So I'll do that, and that's largely because I know that there are things that I've done during the day that I probably didn't even recognize were a sin, or I just let it slip, or I forgot about it because it was small in my head. And so that general istighfar is going to cover that sin. All right. And then the last tip I'll give on this aspect is if you are someone who maybe is short in your Islamic knowledge and doesn't really know, then this is the time to start gaining more Islamic knowledge and start reading more about fiqh, so you know what is haram and what isn't. All right. The last trick that I will share of the Shaytan is the Shaytan has an incredible way to make us hopeless in Allah's mercy, hopeless in Allah's rizq, his sustenance, hopeless in our ability to change. If he can get us to be hopeless, it goes back to the first idea too, then we won't even try. If he can get us to be hopelessness will take human beings to a point of desperation where they will do things that they never would have otherwise done in their right mind. This is the type of thing that really gets people to start doing things that are so extremely haram. This is, imagine being so hopeless in that you'll never find a partner or ever find someone you love, so much so that it pushes you to zina, or being so hopeless that you won't get your justice for a certain oppression that happened to you, that it pushes you to dealing with someone who does like black magic, right? That does sihr. That's what hopelessness does. Imagine, obviously, you think about the situation of people who have been so hopeless in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they end up taking their own, and you can't come back from that. Literally, you can't come back from that. Once that's done, that's done. Or they do it and it's an attempt, but it wasn't successful, and now they're dealing with brain damage for the rest of their life, or a certain disability as a result of it. Hopelessness is the hard hitter, right? It is the hard hitter that Shaytan uses. How do you counter hopelessness? Well, first and foremost, hopelessness settles in if we do not truly believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deliver us from whatever it is that is destroying our hope. And if we are lacking in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to be hopeless, because part of trusting that Allah is the most merciful, the most forgiving, Al-Qadir, the one who, allows for things to happen, Al-Fatah, the one that opens doors. To believe that, we have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have to see the way those qualities of His play out in our life. If we don't have that insight and we're not paying attention to that in our life because we've neglected our relationship with Him, then obviously it's going to be so much easier for us to be hopeless, because we don't have any evidence to counter that hopelessness. We don't have a reason in our mind to be hopeful, because we're not looking for the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for us in our lives that demonstrate that hope. right? So building that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means a good place. And I say this in other videos as well. If you've watched my Salah video, if you watch, there more recent videos that I've made, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, by the way, guys. I try to put out like 4 videos a week on these on topics of God conscious, self-improvement, healing trauma, building a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one thing I say a lot is some things you have to treat as a non-negotiable. So if you're dealing with hopelessness and you're really struggling there, you need to treat your relationship with Allah as a non-negotiable. So your salah is a non-negotiable. You are going to do it whether you like it or not, because that's a fard, and there's a reason for that. Allah is going to use that to pull us out of the hopelessness. You need to make dua as a non-negotiable. And remember your duas, because when those duas come to fruition, you need to be able to be like, oh my God, I made dua for this. I asked Allah for this, and look, He gave it to me, right? He gave it to me in this world so that I could see His mercy towards me, so I can see His power and appreciate it. And that's going to add to our hope. Not only that, so to counter hopelessness is we need to, again, this is all a part of my God conscious self-improvement method. Ebook is linked below. If you join the newsletter, you'll get it. But you need to do things. You need to actually affect things in your life that you have control over. There's something called a locus of control. These are the things we can do things about. A lot of the times the things we feel hopeless about are things we can't do anything about, or we feel very strongly like we can't do something about. Okay, if it's not the time for those things to be affected yet, I guarantee there are several other factors surrounding whatever we're hopeless about that we can do something about. And when you make the decision to make those changes and you sustainably enact those changes for several days in a row, you're stacking your wins. You're going to hear me say these things over and over and over again on my channel, because these are the principles of God conscious self-improvement. You stack those wins, you are going to build that confidence, you're building the skill set. You are going to be able to look back a month prior to that and be like, I was in this place, but look, I've moved. Right? That's going to give you more confidence to continue trying. All of a sudden, you've been doing that for months and months, and things are letting up and things are changing. And even sometimes it doesn't take that long. Sometimes it's even less, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts bringing, He sees you making these efforts, and He starts bringing you more people that can help you, more resources that can help you. And then all of a sudden, at the end of it, you are the reinvented version of yourself. Guys, I hope this video was helpful to you. I actually have an exciting announcement to make. I haven't made yet in any other video. This would be the first time, inshallah, I think, that I'm announcing it. And I have opened up my one-on-one self-improvement coaching appointments. So if you would like to work with me, if you want to go through my system, I have a system called the Metamorphosis Package. It is extremely systematic. It takes you through several modules that are focused on God conscious self-improvement, transformation, and reinvention, all while being Islamically informed, evidence-based. It's awesome. I'm so proud of it. Then you can just go to the description, go to my website, or it'll say book a one-on-one session with me. I'd love to work with you guys. If you have questions, we can also book a discovery call as well, inshallah. There should be a link there for a discovery call. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Assalamu alaikum.